lie.
In the theme of being with Rekieta himself and Good Logic, I have done next to zero preparation, like I did last episode with Viva Fry, Emily D. Baker, and Nate the lawyer. This is Friday. Freewheeling. I have lawyers who are always going to cause trouble. Unfortunately, the trouble began because Viva Fry cannot make it today. I'll let everybody in on a secret. He unfortunately still hasn't been released by law. He's released law himself, but he still has cases out there that will cling to him and keep pulling him back in like spawns from hell. But everybody else is here, and I know that we'll definitely make up for it. So, Joe, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joe Nierman from Good Lawgic, and I just want to comment that when you said Viva is not going to be able to make it, it probably had the same impact as in the Oscars whenever anyone went woke and TVs across America just went click, click, click. I got the same feeling that when you said Viva's not going to be here, all of a sudden, like, so many people are like, all right, let me see what else is on YouTube. So,
yeah, well, you know, what am I going to do? That's fine. Yep, here we go. We're already leaving. No. Nick.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Not me. Not at all. I just got up. I was up watching My Cousin Vinny last night on Twitch, and I am like I'm still recovering from being unconscious for, a couple hours, but I am excited to do the show. Of course. I was just like, oh my God, I forgot the morning was a real thing. But no, on Viva's absence, I just want to say something very serious. Sure. That is called no commitment. That is no commitment right there. It's embarrassing. How dare he? How dare he? He's dodging this panel. He knows what would happen if he were here. He would get taken to task by Joe. That's what would happen. I mean, not me. I'm like a nice guy, but nothing would come out of my mouth. Not an untoward word, but never. Joe here, he's like, oh, I've got so much saved up for that Viva.
Oh, no kidding. And, no kidding. Yeah, I mean, I get a comment for it right there. I mean, this guy has to come from rackets. Jay is bored. Just me, or does Logic look like Anton LaVey?
I never even heard of Ant. Who is that? Who's Anton?
Oh,
LaVey?
he's the head of the Church superhero.
Oh, is he? Nice. Is it it's the beard? It's the beard. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's actually a lot more than the beard.
Beard, eyebrows, diabolical.
He does, right? He looks like him. It's good. You know why I liked Anton LaVey?
Why he's check this guy out.
Why he's one of my favorite people of all time is because when I was in high school, the internet was a fledgling thing, and the Church of Satan website existed. Mm-hmm. And if you went to it, it was Anton LaVey sitting on a throne, flanked by two gorgeous naked women. I don't even remember if they were gorgeous, but I was like naked. 15, right? And they were naked, and they were in good shape. I mean, they were well shaped, but I don't remember their faces very much. But this website, because it was a church, was accessible from the school computer lab. So look, Anton LaVey had it figured out.
Hey, good news though. That was back in the day where the kids were so much more technically savvy that you could just run circles around the teachers. There was nobody who would know how to run the lab or anything else, and they would always ask some smart ass student, say Nick, to maybe set up the equipment for them. And I heard Nick. There's some weird stuff going on, and then of course some industrious troublemaking students, say Nick, would go, I don't know. Let me look into that.
Yeah.
And then he would save the links and email them to himself for later.
That was back when I was actually like tech savvy, as opposed to now, which I have become a rube in my old age.
Because there's
I don't know, the
always
guy in the middle.
there's there's always new stuff. It's not fair. There's always something new. I can't keep track of stuff like this. Is why college sports was never as appealing to me as professional sports. I can't keep up with new names all the time. And it's like, yeah, okay. I have to constantly be jumping to this new update. I got to get the NVIDIA 3070 graphic card because the 2070
70? What is wrong with you? Get a 3090 like a man.
You can't get a Mac and be done with it.
I couldn't even find find a 3090. You can't even find a 3070. No one's making anything ever since COVID came out. It's impossible. I don't know. I struggled to just find anything.
If you ever say get a Mac one more time, I'm kicking you off of this show.
Seriously.
Well, I have the
old. No, you're not anymore. This is like that old computer lab. You're gone, sir.
All right. Okay, here we have good first question. And of course, we don't have the Canadian here to talk about it, but cool. Dragon's Treasure, folks, get some tea. The dragonstreasure.com, promo code unstructured, and you'll get a discount. Between Canada Pastor and Chauvin's will arrest him if he's not guilty plot. Which nation is more terrifying right now?
Canada.
The US or the hat?
Canada.
Canada?
Without question. Chauvin's. People are making a big deal out of the feds going to arrest Derek Chauvin if he was found not guilty.
Didn't they have tax issues already? Like he had other charges, so
he has tax issues. The other thing is, whenever there's and this isn't right, so to speak. I don't think that there should be a racial enhancement at the federal level for a various crime. But we do have these things, and it's not, like I said, it's not the right thing to do, in my opinion. However, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. It's not some like weird trick that they were going to pull. It wasn't a hoodwink. It was the feds had a plan to charge him with a civil rights crime, allegedly, right? Like that's been reported, but he's going to be charged with a civil rights crime if he was not found guilty or was found not guilty. And that shouldn't really surprise anybody because that's been going on for quite a while. And it still requires an underlying predicate act to get to that point. Whatever you may think about Chauvin's guilt or innocence, and I've been trying to say to people when they talk about this with me is that Chauvin is a terrible hill to die on at the end of the day. You got to remember
Columbus, die on that hill.
Yeah. It's like when you look at the Chauvin situation at the end of the day, whatever you think about Floyd, you still end up with a cop who kneeled on a guy for 10 minutes. And that's just not how cops typically behave. It was aberrant behavior. That's
17 priors.
Yeah, it's what brought the charges. And, you can think that justice wasn't served, but there are a lot of times where people think justice wasn't served, but the underlying case is still like a little cringe. And I think Chauvin falls into that one. I don't think even if you think injustice was done, I don't think it's the most egregious injustice we've ever seen ever. And that's how it's being treated by people on the right, because this case got politicized when it really, the politics drove people's opinions, I think, a lot more than the facts. And some people might not like that opinion from me. That's okay. But it is an opinion I've held on that case for a while, and I've said it in a couple other videos. So if they don't like it, I mean, they should have heard it by now.
Well, I'd agree with you that, Chauvin, I thought Chauvin was guilty of man 2 based on the evidence presented by the state. I don't know if I would have given him murder 3 or I certainly wouldn't have given him murder 2.
I'm in the same boat, but
yeah. So in that sense, you're right. It's a terrible hill to die on. It's a terrible look because even though race was not a part of the actual evidence or trial at all, to the rest of the world, it is a race case. So
Press made it a race case. That's what's annoying. The court didn't make it a race case.
You're correct.
Right. Prosecution, as many complaints as there are about the prosecution, they didn't even put, enhanced charges, or they didn't say one word about race.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah.
They didn't.
It was not a race case at all, but the press and BLM specifically made it everything about being a race case. And that's why it's just, and because he's guilty, as you say, I agree with you, Nick, that, if you, to fight there is kind of dumb. But getting back to this question from Dragon's Treasure as to which country is more oppressive, I don't know if you can go country by country. I mean, Nick was very quick to say Canada and show why
Canada's terrible.
I think it depends where you are in Canada versus where you are in the U.S.
Florida,
Yeah. I was going to say
California. I don't know.
I want to point out though, not to interrupt you, but I'm going to do that.
Always.
We're gonna have a fight
time.
here. Yeah. We're gonna have a fight here.
The
part of Canada that they're talking about where this happened is Alberta. It is the Florida of Canada.
Oh, so you're asking? Is it that really? That's the least restrictive area is Alberta?
Oh yeah. Alberta is where they. Canada's weird, and I'll get corrected later probably, but sadly, Alberta makes all the money and carries the whole freaking country because of the oil fields and things like that. So that's where you find the Roughnecks, the Jordan Petersons, and that type of personality in Canada. And most of the power is in Quebec, and they're usually in debt. So there's like interplay politics in Canada where Alberta hates Quebec. They don't feel like they have the representation because they don't have the population. They just make the money. And then Quebec says, hey, we've got the power. Give us more money.
Right. And I'll definitely admit that Trudeau is worse than anyone. He's like worse than Nancy Pelosi, anyone you can name at the top, even Kamala. He's awful. He's the most progressive, woke world leader, perhaps in the world. But still, I don't know if you have to compare to California under the thumb of Gavin Newsom, or what's going on in Michigan.
Get narrower. Go Los Angeles. Then you can be safer. Because I mean, it's bad enough California wide, but there are areas of California that are pretty open and cool. So, but if you get in like LA or San Fran,
all right, fine. You know what? I want to ask you this. We've had a vaccine. Everyone's vaccinated. Anyone over 16 can get vaccinated. And Gretchen Whitmer passed a law this past week or 2 weeks that 2-year-olds now have to wear a mask. 2-year-olds. Try putting a mask on a 2-year-old. Is there any other place in the world which is saying 2-year-olds have to be masked? I'm just saying in certain ways, some of the more authoritarian leaders who have basically been on the front lines of the news under the lockdowns, I think that living under their reign is probably worse than anything you're going to see in Canada.
No. Oh, no. Where's Viva?
Where's Viva?
We need you. Come tell us about Canada. It's
Canada's lockdowns.
What I'm telling you is Calgary, Alberta, right? Which I have called the Florida of Canada, and it's sticking there. I'm making that thing work like Fetch from
it's
Mean
going to take
Girls.
off. Yeah, it's going to take off. It's totally taking off.
I mean, where's the beach? Where's the sunshine?
The beach, that's where the snow meets the other snow. It's perfect. But no, what I say is that is the most based part of Canada. It's just like living in California, except without the weather. So it's like living in Michigan. There you go. That's what it is. I don't think that it's that you're really finding anything. The worst authoritarian measures that are happening in the US right now are all happening in Canada, and maybe to a greater scale. And this Pastor Arthur is a perfect example of it, where they keep going after this guy. They keep doing stuff, and they served a warrant. It's not a warrant, actually. They got an ex parte court order. They didn't get a warrant. They got an ex parte court order to enter the church between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. without obstruction. And if anybody obstructs and gets in the way of them entering this church, they are charged via court order to arrest that person. And not only that, they are given a warrantless entry requirement to anywhere in the country to pursue that person if they have reasonable grounds to believe that they're in.
Is that the Doug Ford stuff? But that was Ontario, right? Where he said these are the most restrictive COVID measures in the world.
Yeah, that was Ontario. But what I'm talking about is what was in the question, Pastor Arthur Pulowski. in Canada. They have an order to enter the church. It's the guy who's like who he had the video where he's yelling at
started screaming about fascist, blah 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 blah.
Right, get out, Gestapo. I love this guy, but he's they have a court order that says that, like, let's say Arthur got in the way of letting someone in the church, right? And then he fled and went somewhere. They have warrantless entry authority to anywhere in Canada. No warrant. They can just say, we have reasonable belief that Arthur is here. So they basically took Arthur and every one of his congregants who might get in the way, and they put, we'll say, an open target on any family member or associate of those persons, because they would have reasonable grounds to believe that they're in any particular one of those houses, I would think, especially if they're in the area, and they have warrantless entry requests. Like, that's something that would be so overly broad in the US.
Yeah, that sounds sounds KGB-esque. I grant you that. Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware that. I will yield. I defer. You're correct.
Yeah, get wrecked.
Hey, give it time. Give it time. And we have plenty of ambitious people here.
Stay classy, Minnesota. Stay classy.
They're going to give it back. They're going to give it their own. There's no way. And keep in mind, the Vice President of the United States was raised in Canada. So, I mean, there's some good examples and people who are here who could follow right along and show those lame people up north how oppression really works.
Well, I was going to say why Gretchen Whitmer passed a measure that requires 2-year-olds to keep masks on. I figured it out. She wants the soul to be kept inside when she eats them. It enhances the flavor for her.
She is so vile. So
now hold on, Joe. Can you repeat that?
Why are you trying to get me demonetized from your channel?
No. I just think it's far more effective if Anton LaVey says it. Oh God, nice wordplay or demonized.
Yeah, she is so vile. I'm gonna use my I'll use my Darth Vader deepest voice possible.
Good news, folks. We're doing well. 18 minutes in. Hold on. Here's the check. Still green. Still monetized.
All right.
Challenge accepted.
I'm gonna channel my Sebastian Gorka and get that deep throaty voice out, and basically, I'll cast. I'm gonna cast curses out at anyone who disagrees with me. I'm gonna let you go on that first one there. Was he that was his real thing, this guy Anton LaVey? He was that a role he played, or that he
wrote the Satanic Bible.
Wow.
And they did get recognized as a religion. The military has to recognize it or whatever else. So he went through all the courts. Hey, if Scientology can do it, he can do it.
I just need minions now. I need minions.
I wonder what his role is since he did die. I wonder how it's working out.
Oh, look, he's doing okay. The Satanic Bible is pretty interesting too. His book. It's much less. It's like if Tony Robbins wrote an evil book, is what it is.
It's like postmodernistic religion, really.
It's a lot of like self-empowerment, self-aggrandizement. That's the whole thing. The Church of Satan wasn't actually a worshiper of Satan. They didn't recognize they didn't deify Lucifer or anything like that. It was literally basically the opposite of selflessness. It was like if Ayn Rand created a religion or something. That's a joke. Maybe better Martin Sheen created a religion.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, you mean Gordon Gekko, the Wall Street
guy?
Gekko?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the same guy.
And that was actually Michael Douglas, not Martin Sheen.
Oh, that's damn it.
I like how you threw Ayn Rand out there, like trying to use your post-college humor there, as if that was just gonna just nail it. That was, you stuck the landing on and everything. I don't know why.
I did.
I
should have stopped there.
Yeah, no, we need an applause button there because.
Well, to have some fun today, this is the one minor bit of prep that I did, and it's because somebody posted it on Locals, and I thought you guys would enjoy it.
All right.
It comes from someone that I know that you both are huge fans of, the Young Turks.
Oh, yeah. I love
Now,
Cheng.
I've got to pitch Locals. I'm not Barnes, but every once in a while I have to pitch out Locals. So it's
Right.
unstructured.locals.com. You've got goodlogic.locals.com.
Yep.
And
Good Lawgic.
rekietalaw.locals.com.
Good Lawgic. LAWGIC. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
And-
logic on his channel.
Thank you. Thank you.
But it is good. All right. So on there, I this is one of those where I do try to be open. You know, I believe in free speech and everything else. And that means that sometimes I'll have people who might be going against the grain of everybody else that's on the channel, and it's always a treat. But I did want to share this video, and I wanted to genuinely get your opinions on it. And I've got a clean copy too that doesn't have their commentary. I just felt like it'd be fun to make your skin crawl for a second.
You to the count of three. Don't do this. Sir, do it.
I'm not touching. That was Virginia State Trooper Charles Hewitt and driver Derek Thompson.
Officer, it's on camera. My hand is by my head.
Car right
I'm
now.
being threatened.
Now you're under arrest. Now you're under arrest for disobeying the law of an officer.
I'm giving you
Lawfully to the count
detained.
of three.
This officer has threatened me, and I'm
One.
making it known.
All right. I don't know. Have you guys seen that original video? Apparently it's from not quite a year ago.
I never saw it.
No, but it looks like the officer has made a request for this guy to get out of the car. Is that the context that we've missed?
Yeah, and let's go ahead. I'm going to put in the full video because the cop was fired, or I don't know if this is full video, but this gives more of it without the Young Turks voiceover.
Oh, thank God.
We get a more open view or what have you.
Trying to unlock my car. This officer is unlocking my car. They just illegally entered my car, and I'm being forcefully removed.
Take a look at me. I'm a fucking specimen right here, buddy.
Sir,
You have gotten on my last
my hands are up on camera.
All right.
I'm in no threat.
You're gonna get your ass whooped in front of fucking Lord and all creation.
Okay, I have to comment first off though. This cop, okay, if you're watching this right now, when I first saw it, does this not seem like it's for a show?
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah,
I thought
look at his
the cop-
face.
I mean, this cop he's a piece of work. I mean, I mean,
he's like, this man.
Keep going.
One more chance.
I'm being threatened.
You can bring that with you. All that you film the whole thing.
I'm being threatened
No,
right now.
I'm giving you a
and I
chance.
am not doing anything.
I'm giving you a chance.
I feel unsafe, and I'm in no threat to these three officers. My hands are up. I am doing nothing wrong.
Can you pause it quick?
Or anything.
That cop looks like he is at a clear glass donut counter and he is like, I'm going to have an eclair. I'm going to have an old fashioned. I'm going to take that ass down with a long john. You are done, buddy. He's like squatting down, checking out the merchandise. It's killing me.
This is the weird. This cannot be real. I mean, he looks as if the whole thing looks so staged. I actually thought there was a camera guy from the other side of the car who was like filming it also. This is the weirdest looking scenario.
I feel threatened.
I feel
threatened right now.
He did. I mean, to be fair, he did threaten him. He said, you are going to get your ass kicked in front of God and all creation.
That was awesome.
Because he's a real specimen here.
Wow.
Okay, hold on. Wait, there's more.
Okay.
Making sure this is all recorded. I've just been threatened by a lawful officer. I have just been threatened by a law officer as two other officers stand by and say absolutely nothing. Willing to participate. My passenger door was open. My driver door was open. I have it on camera. He rolled my window down to do so.
I'm giving you to the count of three.
Sir, this is all on camera. I am not resisting. I'm making sure it is being known. I am not resisting.
Okay.
My hands are up. One hand on this camera. My seatbelt is being arrested.
As long as your hands are up, that's fine.
I'm not resisting.
As long as your hands
I
are up.
was unlawfully. Sir, please do not touch me, sir.
Keep your phone out.
Sir, please do not touch me.
See, that's what we're coming to a disagreement. To the count of three.
Sir, do it. I'm not touching this officer. It's on camera. My hand is by my head.
Car right
I'm being
now.
threatened.
Now you're under arrest. Now you're under arrest for disobeying the law.
I was being
I'm giving you
lawfully
to the count
detained.
of 3.
This officer has threatened me, and I'm making it known I have no threat to this
2.
officer. I've been threatened. My life is in danger.
My life is in danger. My life is in danger.
How do you like that? Put your hands on. Put your hands.
You should stop talking. I don't like the whole. How do you like that?
And that pretty much sums up the video. So I actually, okay, first off, the cop was unbelievably over the top. The driver
great.
was also ridiculous. Everybody was ridiculous in this scenario, in my mind.
Yeah.
That is my opinion. It is so crazy to look at, and I've got 2 lawyers on for just this reason. One, I've had Dr. Michael Wood on the show multiple times. He's the cop and police reformer or whatever else. And I can already tell you right now, he would say that the cop is actually completely in the right for pulling him out of the car.
Yep.
That there is a continuum of force, I think is what they call it. And is it correct or not that while he was sitting there filming himself and he was saying, I am not resisting, he was actually resisting that entire time?
He was he's given a lawful order, presume, like when you are detained by an officer, whether you are correctly detained or not, you are detained when you are no longer free to leave. That is basic Fourth Amendment analysis. The moment you are given an order to stop, to freeze, to halt, or you are given a command to move to a specific place, you are no longer free to go. And actually, in a car, it's really easy to know when you're detained because it's the moment those lights come on and that siren and you pull over, you are now given an order to stop. And once that happens, and this is really uncomfortable, you are to follow the lawful orders given by a police officer, which is up to the point of you committing a crime based on their orders. You basically need to do it. If they tell you to get out of the car, you need to get out of the car. You can refuse consent. You can refuse consent to a search. You can voice your objection to what they're doing. However, if they say, sir, I'm going to need you to get out of the car, you can ask why, but at the end of that question is, I will get out of the car. I don't like that. I'm not a big I'm not a big fan of it, but cops are given deference at the time of a detention to conduct whatever investigation they need to see if there is further criminal activity, so long as they're not doing something invasive. Cars, you have very little freedom because you're on a roadway, and cars are an automatic exemption to the warrant requirement. So you have literally just a standard of probable cause, and they already have reasonable suspicion that you're committing a crime because they pulled you over in the first place. So like, you have to do it. And so if you're going to sit there and say, I'm not resisting while not following the lawful order, you may not be in active resistance, but you are in passive resistance, and they can affect the order with some level of reasonable force. So yeah, him pulling him out of the car after giving him ample warning to get out of the car. And we still don't know what happened prior to that. Like, we don't have the context of why he was pulled over, why he asked him out of the car. Don't know. But the hard thing for people to remember is that all of that stuff gets fought out in court. Oh, they pulled me over improperly. Oh, they didn't have the authority to order me out of the car. Your lawyer deals with that because you are not a lawyer. You are a punching bag, and you need to not be a punching bag. Like,
okay.
Don't put yourself on the hook.
Okay, but did any of his physical? I know that his tone and his words were over the top. Were any of his physical actions violative of the black man's civil liberties or individual rights?
Well, when he says he's going to kick his ass, that probably would fall under that.
Wait. It was passive, wasn't it? It wasn't, I'm going to kick your ass. It's, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Sorry. And I don't know if the finger in the face would constitute a threat or not. I don't know. I don't personally feel like that's a threat. I do feel like he almost lost it completely in that second, and then kind of pulled himself back when you heard that rage starts,
right.
Yeah.
And then when And then when he saw the jelly donut, that's when he sort of like paused a little bit. He's like, "Whoa, I don't want to commit to the Boston cream."
I can see that that strawberry filling coming out. No, I think the hard thing to know, physical actions. It's hard to know what happens, obviously, when the camera is no longer on. So
Sure.
we don't know if the force used after he pulls him from the car is reasonable or not. If he's like grinding that guy's face on the pavement, intentionally rubbing it back and forth, that's not going to be reasonable force. What?
Right.
Oh,
I guess not.
But he is like, he's saying, how do you like that? How do you like that? He may be engaged in that. Don't know. But one thing I will say, though, is if the police department fired him for his words, which they absolutely, yeah. But it depends on, if they fired him for excessive force or whatever, or they just fired him for words, you have no protection as a government officer in the commission of your official duties for the words that you say. So if they determine those words to be inappropriate, and I think that's the big problem that guy has, is he gets a little heated, which is understandable. Like when you're dealing with someone who will not comply and they're supposed to, that's a frustrating thing. Anyone who's ever had a kid around them in their entire life for even a moment knows that can be frustrating. And so he gets heated under the collar. And then what happens afterwards is, he's made a big spectacle. If he would have, maybe he should have backed off and had another guy remove the guy from the car and effected arrest or something, and not been saying, "How you like me now? How you like me now? You like that? I'm a specimen."
And by the way, the camera not showing it any longer doesn't help the case, because you're right. For all we know, with the verbiage, he could be rubbing his face in the asphalt, or he could be doing God only knows what.
He could be giving him a wedgie. No one really knows what he's doing right then and there. But the point is, that's why I even said the first words out of my mouth is like, "Whoa!" The audio there. If he's gonna kick his butt, he should have just done it silently rather than just bragging about how he's like stomping on him. You sort of pictured Hulk Hogan there, like marching around the ring and flexing. As he was
I think he was being funny, and that's the problem too. Is maybe I'm wrong, but his attitude to start, my impression is the cop was kind of trying to be a smartass. Oh, I got a special, like he was being self-effacing, but it's not appropriate.
But it seemed like it was filmed for like a woke TV show, like you have a pretty decent.
Oh, dude, it totally looked like Mad TV, or like they were gonna, and especially that when he said, "Watch the show." That was almost surreal, because I thought that, oh, okay, this is somebody joking with me on Locals, right? And then it would lead into whatever the show was,
like the cop,
and that they were buddies and all that.
Like that cop who did the LeBron thing, who actually I think he got fired for that, right?
He did.
Who made a joke about that he has to call LeBron and ask LeBron how to handle it.
He was fired now.
I don't know. I guess if he was fully fired or suspended, because
maybe his Twitter suspended.
He's permanently suspended from work. Yeah, because they did a GoFundMe. Somebody did a GoFundMe for him, and it was approaching $100,000 yesterday. It might have passed
124, I think, last night.
Yeah. So that guy should not have been suspended or fired at all. Like that is speech. He wasn't acting in an official capacity. He's talking about a political issue, and he can actually make a claim about that, right? Like he could go ahead and sue to maintain his job, or to at least get his pension rights and stuff like that.
I'll play devil's advocate on that. Okay. The same way, like, you have a professional athlete wearing their uniform, they're representing their team, and their actions in that is representative of the team. Can the police force say you specifically wore the uniform to reflect your role and your position? The whole joke doesn't work if you're not wearing a uniform. So you're wearing it, and that in that capacity now you're acting as a representative of the force, and you can't, make a mockery of how.
I don't know, because if you do that, if anyone else on that force has ever done anything in uniform, be it for the police or otherwise, that is outside of their duties, then I would think that would be a moot point.
No,
let's say they were having it's a car wash, go down to the car, or whatever it might be. I don't know if that would hold up or not. That's a hard one. Now, the military, absolutely, he'd be on his ass because there are regulations written in the military, and I guess that's part of it too. What are the laws in there? What do the police sign up for? What's their union agreement? I don't know.
The test for whether or not the government can fire you for your speech is, are you conducting official duties? I don't think police officers recording TikTok videos are conducting official duties unless they're doing a TikTok of like an arrest or a stop or something like that, which I think is discouraged. I think they're discouraged from posting those things on TikTok. I know I talked to a cop who had pulled me over one time because I was driving delightfully fast. And he brought me into, look, I was coming up I-35 from Texas to Minnesota. I had been driving for 11 hours at the time, and the cop pulls me over. I was only going like 92 or something. It wasn't that bad. But anyway, so he pulls me over, and he actually ordered me out of the car and into his car. And so I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and he's like, why am I back here? He's like, you know what? I just didn't want to deal with anything. I'm just going to run your license and hang out with you and talk to you for a minute. He was really super nice. And so then we're talking about his dash cam, and he's like, yeah, this thing's cool. You can just press this button. It'll burn a DVD of the dash cam footage. And I was like, oh, you got a collection of greatest hits? He's like, yeah, unfortunately I can't share them, but I do have them. So I think they can do this, but it's hard to argue that a cop making a TikTok video, even though he's in uniform, is in the commission of his official duties. So once that is passed, if you're not in the commission of your official duties, then are you commenting on a matter of public concern? Well, I think this Micaiah, whatever her name is, Micaiah Bryant. Yeah. I think that is probably a matter of public concern. And so then the last thing is, was that speech, how does the last test go? Oh, damn it. My brain shut off. Anyway, is this speech so egregious that he needs to be fired? That's not the right test. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look up what the last test is. But
you get on that. We'll wait here. You just...
About the uniform and representing the city possibly on that. Now, I guess everyone would agree if he was wearing a fake cop uniform, then there would be no question.
But I want to point out that wearing a uniform and representing a team, like Joe said in his analogy, is one thing. And a private company would have every right to fire you. Like if you did it in a Target shirt, even though that's just a red shirt, so that doesn't count. But if you're like a McDonald's uniform and you're making jokes about how you use moldy food or whatever, McDonald's can fire you all day. Anybody can, private companies can. Public officials cannot be fired simply because they're wearing a uniform when they do something. It has to be determined if they're in the commission of their official duties. Unless this guy is a cop media spokesperson running the official St. Louis department TikTok
Isn't that
channel.
part of the contract though? Couldn't that be in their contract? Because, and the reason I'm saying is I was in the Army, okay? And if I was in military uniform and I did that, I would be in deep trouble.
Right. And the military has different rules than this. Because you're the military, you are not a private citizen in any capacity anymore.
I agree. I agree.
But here, I'll find it. Public officials.
It'd be a good video, actually.
So
I talked about it the other day.
Is there any other thing analogous to a police officer? You're saying it's not like a military because when
they're not
reserve, it's not like a private company. So what would be analogous? I guess
firefighter would be analogous. Okay,
so a firefighter, basically, you're saying if he's wearing his uniform
and they're an official uniform, is that cool?
That's a great example, Eric. That's a great example. So you're telling me if a firefighter basically goes out there wearing his uniform and he has protected speech as long as he's not on duty, he can do whatever, he can say whatever he wants, and he's totally protected. Even if he's talking in a way that looks like, I mean, let's remember this: the left has zero sense of humor, zero. So, based on their lack of a sense of humor, you can't see them saying like, well, maybe some people will misinterpret this as to what cops actually really do, because they have no sense of humor. I mean, the left can't meme; nothing is a joke. So you can't see them saying that like this is a poor reflection as to how police officers actually handle their duties.
No.
You're saying he has such broad latitude. If he went around wearing his uniform and completely misrepresented to everyone what cops do in his police force,
I've got the third test.
Oh no, he's got the third test. All right, cool.
Yeah. So the first test is they're only protected by the First Amendment when they are speaking as private citizens. If their speech is part of their official job duties, they can be fired or disciplined for it. That's Garcetti versus Cabellos. That's 2006 case. If they were speaking as a private citizen, next step was their speech regarding a matter of public concern? If they weren't speaking on a matter of public concern, the First Amendment will not protect their speech. If they were, then you go to the next test. And that final test is if they're speaking as a private citizen on a matter of public concern, next step is whether the government employer's interest in efficiently fulfilling its public services is greater than the employee's interest in speaking freely.
Oh,
the question is
say that worked against their interest because he's representing them in a way that they don't see fit.
They can say that, but if he challenges the firing or suspension, then they have to prove that. They have to show how a TikTok video of him making a joke about Micaiah Bryant and the need for a police officer to call a celebrity to determine whether or not they're having a justifiable use of force, that somehow interferes with the police doing an efficient or efficiently fulfilling their public duties. And so, I mean, I think they would argue that for sure because they'd have to. I just don't know if that argument is that compelling, in my opinion.
And I want to be clear here to your audience who might not be, especially those who may not be familiar with me. I disagree with him being punished. I think I'm the biggest advocate for free speech possible. I'm simply looking at it from the position of the police force, what justification they might have that would hold up legally. Because I don't think they did this in a vacuum when they were like, well, let's ignore any consequences.
No, they were pissed. I'm sure that they were pissed.
I'm sure they were ticked off. And even so, a firing doesn't happen against a union member unless someone talks to a lawyer and says, can we get away with doing this?
Well, we got the Rittenhouse donation. What about that?
Yep.
A guy who donated anonymously, by the way. So he absolutely was not representing them in doing it. He even, checked it off and said, no, anonymous. That data was doxed. So it was an illegal action that even revealed the data, and he got fired. That was termination.
I want to point out, Eric, you said this would make a good video, right?
Yeah.
I did this video on that case.
I know you did, but so what? I want you to do it here.
It would make a great video. If only someone would put out some thoughtful, intelligent,
hold on.
legal analysis on it.
I mean, we can't put too high of a standard on it.
That's true. No, and
right.
that's
so maybe this is why we're missing Viva Fry right now, because we know he would nail it for sure. Like he would get it right, so.
But in the case of the Rittenhouse donation, you have a similar case, and the argument that a lot of people are putting out there is, well, he put his police officer email address on his anonymous donation. And so they're saying that makes it an official act,
That's ridiculous.
Is it ridiculous though? Because just a moment ago, you argued that merely wearing a police uniform is representative of the police force, and therefore now.
Okay, again, for those of you who are not unfamiliar with the term devil's advocate,
but that by the way, anonymous.
Looking at aside, I do not necessarily believe it.
Anonymously.
Also, respectfully, counselor, your analogy is not comparable at all. There's a difference between someone making a video where it's all about the uniform. It's all about displaying the uniform in order to make the point as to what he's saying. Because if he's not out of uniform, the video makes no sense. He must be wearing that uniform. You're comparing that to a situation where someone is anonymously sending out a contribution to Rittenhouse, and he happens to pick an email that's a work email. That if he picked any other email, it wouldn't impact the donation he was making. Arguably,
Anton LaVey would play devil's advocate. That's all I'm
So
saying.
he's playing the devil.
No, you're right. You're right. But I'm saying that is the most common critical comment on my video, is that people are saying, well, it's from his official or his state email account, so therefore would that change the analysis? And I'm saying right now,
if it was public, it would. If it was public, if it was on a site.
Right.
And, let's say it was a GoFundMe and he put it out there as his name, his role, and his email. I do think in that case,
especially
maybe there'd be something. Maybe.
I don't.
But it's definitely not anonymous.
Well, I'll tell you, with the message he wrote saying we support you or whatever, you were doing the right thing, then if he's intentionally publicly using his email, then it sounds as if he's making representation on behalf of the force that he's working for, as opposed to when it's private, it's hard
the force he's working for, because he says something about no matter what the political higher chain says or whatever, we care about you. So,
Right.
there was some loaded language in there, but
I want to say, like, I want to point this out, because I think there's a distinction here, and if there isn't an actual distinction, there's case law on it. I'm happy to be wrong and corrected, and I will simply maintain that if I am wrong about this, then the law is wrong. I think there's a big distinction between representing yourself as a public official and being engaged in official duties. Like if you're making a representation that you're speaking for the police force, doesn't mean that you are speaking for the police force or that it's part of your official duties. The guy in the Rittenhouse case is on internal affairs. There's no one on earth who believes that any statement made by an internal affairs officer is part of their official duties, unless they're being specifically interviewed as like a media spokesperson,
and identifying themselves as such and speaking on a manner as such. Yeah, that's
right. And so I think in both the cases, in my humble opinion, the cop who did the LeBron James video, the guy who donated to Rittenhouse, these guys are being persecuted for their speech. I don't think they're speaking in any official capacity. To me, the question isn't even close. Now, I know in the practical realm of the law, that is not how things are going to necessarily shake out. There will obviously be competent arguments if they're challenging this on both sides. But I'm just saying, what?
Limited. Got the demonetized.
Oh, dang
Get
it!
that request for review in there real quickly.
Yeah,
all right.
Do it. We'll drag the show out long enough to get it reversed.
You know what? So far they've reversed every one of them that I put in, but we made it 45. Now I didn't look at it for a little while, so it might have been earlier. Not really sure. Hey, on that note, I got super chat in here. It's really a good question. But isn't it right that the cop can only ask you to exit your vehicle for their safety, for a pat down, if he has no other, I guess, RAS? I don't know what RAS is.
I don't know what the acronym is. I mean, they have to have a reason to ask you to exit your vehicle, but you don't have a right necessarily to not exit your vehicle. That's the hard part about Fourth Amendment jurisprudence, and you exiting the vehicle on the orders of a police officer is a seizure under the Fourth Amendment. You are seized in the moment that they enact some sort of force upon you, even if that is an order. So the question is not fought at the time of detention. It's fought in court, whether their seizure was proper. And if they're improperly seizing you, you may have a claim, a 1983 claim. It could compromise any other criminal charges that you may have. And I know this sounds terrible because I hate being the guy who says, you know what, even if that order is unlawful, you should really listen to it. But while you're detained, you have limited leeway to fight this stuff. That fight comes later. Just like when I say, if a cop wants to search your vehicle, like if he really wants to search it, you can say no all day and say, I do not consent. But if they want to, they will search it. The search might be illegal.
Here's a crappy analogy, and tell me if I'm wrong. Is that kind of like copyright infringement? That it's an affirmative defense, like just because you can claim fair use, but you got to go to court to prove it. You can claim it was a wrongful arrest or a wrongful hold, but you got to suck it up and then go to court and prove it out later. Is that a fair?
Yes, and if a police officer has reasonable belief at all that they're doing the right thing, they're not going to get some sort of force charge on you for using what they consider reasonable force, even if they're wrong. If they're wrong about the authority to ask you to step out of the vehicle, but they use a reasonable force to effect their order, they're not going to get a charge. You may get off of you may get off of whatever you're charged with. That might be right. But you don't get, and if you had like a resisting arrest charge, you're definitely going to get out of that if it was wrong. But you can't just, Mike Dolan.
You see, I argue with Nick about this. He thinks that you're not allowed to shout fire in a theater.
Oh, you better not. You better not.
Nick and I had a conversation about this 2 nights ago. We were on the air when we had this conversation, or was it afterwards? I don't remember.
This is a perfect summary while you guys talk it out.
I actually, it was funny. It's like the first time I went on Nick, I actually was speculating about the idea of changing my name from Good Lawgic to Devil's Advocate, because I felt like I'm arguing on behalf of the conservative, which the right considers the devil. So I sort of felt like Devil's Advocate would be a great.
Yeah, but if you're going to attract conservatives, there's a whole wing of them that probably wouldn't like the devil connotation, no matter what.
Right, and yet I still keep the beard. So there you go. So Nick and I were having this conversation about shouting fire in a theater, and he was basically saying that that's the biggest misnomer, biggest misconception about free speech imaginable, because you can shout fire in a theater. So,
as I'll say it very simply, if you're in the cast of the play and your line says to shout fire, that is protected speech, obviously. Or here's a thought: if there is a fire in a crowded theater, you can yell fire. Shocking, I know, but yelling fire in a crowded theater is a terrible, terrible anachronism, I think, and it's bad law. The case isn't even good law anymore. Schenck was overturned by Brandenburg in just as recently as 1954 or whatever it was. I hate it.
you should make a video about this.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we're outing ourselves right now. It's like, hey, Nick's over there like, why am I here? Why am I here? They don't even bother watching my channel. What the F?
Wait,
God.
I do not, because I don't watch anything made by anybody ever. I don't have time.
did you make the video when Schenck was overturned, or you?
Yeah, I made it actually in 1954. When my best friend Brandenburg was getting out of jail after talking about the dangers of miscegenation. That's what happened.
Nice. All right. No, I just want.
How about shouting COVID in a crowded gym?
That was a question.
That's great.
Change it from shouting COVID in a crowded gym to coughing in a crowded gym.
Right.
During COVID. What if your cough is a political statement? Right? Like,
oh, I like this. This is interesting.
Seriously. Yeah.
How could a cough be a political statement?
Okay, no, hold on. No, can we take it further, Nick? Can we take it further?
Okay.
What if you cough in a crowded gym and somebody elderly got so scared they died of a heart attack?
Right?
Now do we start to get into felony murder if we're in Minnesota and eggshell cases? Nate, where are you?
I don't think we have an underlying felony is the problem. I think you would have a disorderly conduct.
Oh, I can make a felony out of it if you.
I can too. Yeah.
If you intentionally cough on somebody, that could be considered a felony, especially if you're trying to infect them with a sickness. You really are trying to do it, or you're feigning that. That certainly could be deemed an assault.
Well, we can reductio ad absurdum the ongoing sort of back and forth between Nate and Viva over felony murder in Minnesota, right?
Oh, you're going to go there.
Barnes. I mean, it's by way of Barnes. It's kind of between Nate and Barnes with Viva sort of.
Right.
He's advocate.
And so if we reductio ad absurdum this, okay, we've got two sort of perspectives going on. I'll break this down for the audience a little bit. We've got two perspectives going on about what constitutes the requisite intent for the underlying assault in the Chauvin case. Okay, so Barnes and Viva had mentioned something where, and I'm not going to actually say what anybody meant. I'm going to say how it's being interpreted. Okay, because I don't know what people mean. And look, we lawyers get on shows and we talk a lot and we're talking off the cuff. And so people can mean something and it can come out a little bit different. So whatever the case, I think Barnes had said something like, that implied that the intent rested in the intent to cause a sufficient level of injury to make the assault a felony. Whereas Nate says that assault is a general intent crime and you have to intend the underlying act, not intend the requisite level of injury. Now, I don't know what either of them fully mean by that, because if a lawyer is going to explain something, it's going like fully, it will take pages and pages and pages of text. But I think the truth about the assault in Minnesota is somewhere between those. And I think it's that you have to intend an underlying assault. You have to intend the assault. However, the requisite amount of injury is not a factor in the intent. And the reason you get that is because if you go to 5th degree assault, the assaultive act is you still have to intend to commit the assault. You have to intend not to commit an act that causes injury, but you have to intend an assault. And that's a little bit different. So that being said, if you are coughing in someone's face, you are and doing so intentionally, like you go up and you're wanting to make some sort of statement to the person about how ridiculous they are for yelling at you about a mask, right? And you just, or for not wearing a mask, and you cough right in their face. That is an assault. Now, if they die from that, that
put up a case that may be on point?
So you can search for this article. Delaware woman arrested for shouting profanity, saying she had COVID-19 inside a store. She created a panic. Yep. So that sounds like a disorderly conduct in Minnesota, which would be a misdemeanor.
Okay, so I'd like to weigh in here on the whole Nate, the lawyer versus Robert Barnes feud, if I can. I know you said you don't want to read into anybody's intention, but they're both talking about what they think the law is or how it applies. And I watch enough Viva Barnes. I barely miss an episode. I don't know any explanation for anyone who would. Shame on you, Nick Rekieta. But I will tell you that I love Viva. I love Barnes. They do phenomenal work together. And I understand what Nate was saying. And he put together a 2-minute clip where basically he was showing highlights of different things Robert Barnes said and saying this is wrong, and followed up by what the judge issued, the jury instruction that was issued by the judge, which basically specifically said you do not need to show that there was an intention to cause serious harm in order for him to be found guilty of murder 2 for felony murder. And then he would show a clip of Robert implying something the opposite. This is where I think there was a disconnect there. I think that Nate was properly explaining the standard of law in Minnesota, and I think that he was correct as far as what the law is. And I think what Robert Barnes
live in Minnesota.
What? Yeah.
Any of us live in Minnesota?
So,
yeah, go ahead and finish.
I know you feel like you can just run roughshod over me. He's like, I got 150,000 subs. I can do whatever I want.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like I can do whatever. You're like this tiny little channel next to me, and you're sitting here challenging me with your theories on law. Okay, but let me explain to you, okay, that what Robert Barnes was explaining, and I think Nate was taking him a little too harsh to the task. And I love Nate. I love everyone who's involved here, which is why it was like watching mommy and daddy fight. It was awful for me. But what Robert was basically talking about was the philosophical underpinning for felony murder. If we think about for a second why so many states, if not every state, has felony murder. What felony murder does is it takes an accidental death, which is a low-level manslaughter, and says because there's a felony that's going on there, and you created a situation where there's going to be substantial risk of serious bodily harm. That's why we take an accidental death and raise it to a much higher level of an intentional death. Your intent to create a dangerous circumstance by having a felony, you're having a bank robbery, you're having a drug deal, whatever it is, that's why we'll take an accidental death that happened and raise it up. And what he was basically saying is, so when you're missing that intent to create a felony, no one here thinks Chauvin was trying to create was looking to create a situation of serious bodily harm. And that's what he was saying, that for normal felony murder, there needs to be an intention to create a situation of serious bodily harm. When you decide to undergo a felony, you're creating a situation where necessarily, if there's a robbery, there's a chance someone's going to get seriously hurt. You do a drug deal, there's a chance someone's going to get seriously hurt. We don't have that here with Chauvin. There was no thought along those lines, which is why he was saying philosophically, there's no logic in taking this accidental death and saying that there's an underpinning, even though there's a felony, there's no logical reason to say this felony is creating a situation that we should raise an accidental death up to an intentional death. That is what Robert Barnes' point was. And unfortunately, Minnesota has a bizarre perspective where they're like, we don't care if the felony is creating a situation dangerous where someone might likely die. It's just felony is a felony is a felony. Whatever the felony is, that is a predicate sufficient predicate underpinning that will take an accidental death up to murder. Now I'm done. Please, by all means, Nick, you can go in there and give us your professional 162,000 perspective.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm not even a lawyer here, and I'm just spouting off.
I was just going to say that we're walking around on some eggshells here. It's probably not necessary, but it's because we all like all of these people, right? So we're not trying to do anything. But I think, that clip that Nate is playing of the jury instructions, it says that they're not required to prove the injury outcome. That's what the judge is saying. So that's why I'm saying that I think, which is true. They're not.
I think he said they're not required to prove an intent to cause a serious. I think he specifically says
an intent to cause a serious injury, which is an element of third-degree assault. But you do still have to intend the assault.
Right.
Right. So is affecting an arrest intending an assault? And that leads into the other deeper question of, they said that he had passed away or he is dead at 5 minutes in or 5.5 minutes in. So the question is, can you assault a dead body? And
and
came up too that it gets really, really deep into the weeds. And that's where I totally agree with you that that's not the hill to die on. I mean, to me, the Columbus Drop in Ohio absolutely is a hill that you might die on. But
I think the state, and I said this before the outcome of the verdict, I said I think the state has made the case for all three charges. I thought that the defense made a reasonable not a justification, but I guess, actually, I think the state or the defense made a case that his use of force was actually reasonable. I don't think the defense made a case on manslaughter 2 because the defense almost never talked about the culpable negligence, whereas the state was making that case the entire time. So that's why I think the man 2 charge, based on what was argued in court, is appropriate. But I thought that the murder 2 charge could actually go either way. I could see a reasonable jury coming to either conclusion based on what was presented. And that's unfortunately, like, juries are dice rolls in a lot of ways. And from the sounds of it, one of the actual jurors, not one of the alternates, who was in the deliberation room, has talked a little bit about it and said that when they went into that jury room, the only reason it took them 10 hours is because there was one guy who had some doubt
about one of the lesser charges, not even about murder 2. They were all on the same page about murder 2. He said it was about one of the lesser charges that the guy had some doubt. And what was interesting, and this I didn't really understand, this I disagree with Nate on Twitter about this, where he said, you see, there was deliberation, so that was proof to the fact that the jury was being fair. but if you listen to the entire interview, along the way, he's like, now we've cemented his legacy. Now he becomes more than who he is. It becomes a cause. If that's what you're talking about, you're not, to me at least, my perspective is you're not analyzing the case for the sake of, is this man guilty or innocent? But you're looking to make a statement that will last for generations, that his name will be memorialized. And that's why I really disagree with Nate on that. And before I let you come back in there, or either of you, I just want to point out that I agree with what Nick said. I not only like Viva, Robert Barnes, and Nate the lawyer, I respect each of them as being very intelligent attorneys, and even more that they put out great work. And that's why I follow all of them. I respect all of them, and that's why it is a little awkward. Like none of us want to say something that's gonna. It's not a matter of trying to protect them.
For a second.
I just respect each of them.
Yeah. Viva or David and Nate are buddies. Okay, and I've had them on this channel, and almost every time it turns into a debate, which is awesome. But the key thing you got to remember is at the end, everybody's laughing.
Right.
It is it's a intellectual exercise. Neither of them hold hard feelings towards one another at all. Mm-hmm. And some of this, Twitter doesn't get nuance. You've got a limited number of characters.
That's true.
And so you're going to have back and forth. But they became friends way back in the day when I think David released a video about the Covington kids. Ironically, I think the Covington kids also brought Barnes out of the woodwork too. Mm-hmm. And it kind of put everybody sort of together in that group. But
Nate even credited Viva. I think when I was on his stream, he credited Viva as being the source of anyone finding him. Like he would. So
they call. They're on the phone all the time. So I mean, I'm saying, let everybody know that this is just public debate. They're buddies.
Wait a minute. None of them call me.
Well, yeah, they called
racists. Racists against Minnesotans. This is.
Or it could be statist. It depends on what you're talking about. I don't know.
I think they are both statists.
That fund, I've got a chat going on my unstructured.locals.com. That's my Barnes throw-in. The chat around this video. Look where the fund is.
Nice. Almost 200 grand.
917. So 200. Hey, before long, we'll just pay for the guy's retirement.
I didn't think, by the way, he was a real cop because his name Sylvester was spelled S-I. I've never seen Sylvester spelled that way. So I thought it was a fake uniform. I really did. I was like, it's funny, but I think I don't think it's a real cop. So
I've given up on proper spelling of names. My partner on News with Booze is Allison with one L. I don't know what's wrong with her. Single L, Allison.
What's the name? I was watching yesterday. Uncivil Law had on Nate the lawyer and this other attorney from Legal Bites. Her name is
Legal Bites. Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name? Letty? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I just saw her coming on their channels, and I'll have to reach out.
I couldn't find her anywhere. That happened to be a great video also. If you like watching oral arguments and lawyers dissecting oral argument, they do a great job breaking down the Mahoney case. And that was the cheerleader who got punished from the squad because she was cursing and talking about the cheer squad.
I was gonna say, like Emily would say, she was using the cursey words.
Yes, she was using them repetitively, and there was oral argument on it this week. And Uncivil Law, Nate, and the woman from Legal Bites, I don't remember her name, but they did a phenomenal job. First, I didn't even know you could hear audio of Supreme Court arguments. That is so cool. And they're sitting there breaking it down. I was like, wow, I should do this.
That's new. That just happened since COVID. There are good parts of COVID too.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. I got another thing to update again from my locals chat, guys. William Kelly is the Norfolk officer that got fired, and they've raised $60,000 for him.
What was this guy fired for?
This is the guy who donated anonymously to Rittenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that, there's something out there for him.
I would think, and I'm surprised he's got less than the other guy.
You know what? This happens, sooner, and I don't know.
This is a much smaller story because it doesn't involve LeBron James. I mean, that's the long and short of it. It's not about like the propriety of
you to LeBron James versus Norfolk Police Department.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
What was
I was
gonna
just saying, because
say?
to me, William Kelly is more sympathetic because he wasn't trying. I mean, this guy Sylvester, and again, both of them have been wronged by the system 100%, obviously. But I would just think that he's more sympathetic because he wasn't trying to put his name out there. He just got caught by hackers and stuff like. And all of a sudden, he
Oh, I
became
think it was
fired.
wrong completely. But
As opposed to Sylvester, who was trying. I mean, his goal was to be funny and to also put his face out there. I mean, the fact that it went viral was something probably made him really happy and proud. So,
Oh, and I want to say I was supposed to be on that show listening
Which-
to the cheerleader arguments, but I ended up canceling at the last minute. I felt really bad about it, but
like I part of that prejudice against you, huh?
so Wednesdays are the worst days for me because I do a live chat with my locals and my Discord or whatever, and then my kids have Wednesday night activities, and I am often either driving them to the activity or from the activity or both. And I was invited onto 3 different shows on Wednesday,
including mine.
One of them.
I invited him.
I invited him on mine.
Did you really?
And yeah, so
Yeah,
Eric
I did.
and Joe and Kurt all invited me on their shows.
He was in the chat.
That's funny.
I was like, "Hey, come
really
on!"
funny. So I want
Yeah.
what he's talking on now, Nick. What you're talking about is why I mentioned to him, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Eric, because you're certainly an important player in this conversation. Also, is I threw out at Nick the idea that it's like if I want to have like a live stream, and I really would like to be joined by a couple of people, and I like all of you equally. We weren't just like making stuff up. So like, how would I? Do I have to start DMing this person, that person? It wouldn't be so much easier if there was like a private Facebook group and I could just like say, hey, this is what I'm doing tonight. Any of you want to join me on it? And we sort of were able to like interact with each other without it being like you're going one-to-one. There's like 15 or 20, at least creators out there who are all in the same sphere. We all get along. We all respect each other. We each have a slightly different take on things, which is why it's a help. It's not we're all like on lockstep with each other. You see, I disagree with Nate on Twitter about this, and I disagree with Nick about everything. So I think that having a community like that would just make it easier for us to not step on each other. You start live streaming one night. I live stream every night from 10 p.m. to midnight. All of a sudden, in the middle of my live stream, I got someone telling me, oh, Eric's got Viva Barnes on his live stream right now. And I was like,
in fairness, I started at 9, dude.
and I was like,
and you know what? If you were watching, you would know it. And by the way, some people told me to invite you.
Yeah,
and I would have, but you're too good for me, man. You're busy
no,
on your own. So.
Please.
And by the way, I'll give you a little pushback here. I've never gotten a DM from you. So
yes,
I
you have.
know what to think.
Okay, whoa.
Called out. This is good.
First of all, the only reason I'm on here right this second, right now, is because
I specified. I've never been DM'd to go on your show, dude.
Oh, I'll happy bring you on for sure. I didn't think you would want. I always assume no one wants to come on a show of a guy who's got 2,200 subs. I don't think anyone would want to come to a show that's 2,200. I think they feel like they're doing me a kindness. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna spend 2 hours with this guy. I had a reporter on last night, a guy named Brendan Leslie from.
I gotta ask you about him, but go on.
Yeah, and this guy, like, he comes to me and he's like, so I said I have a live stream. It's 2 hours from 10. He's like, all right, I can give you 15 minutes. From 10 to 10:15. I was like, okay, I guess so. And then I realized he ended up staying for an hour, and I realized it was basically he was worried that he'd be stuck on a bad date. He didn't want to commit to 2 hours. So like he basically said, I can give you 15 minutes, but the conversation thankfully went well. I ended up keeping him for an hour. I didn't know he was inside the Capitol on January 6th filming stuff. I mean, that's pretty cool. So
oh, definitely. By the way, that guy, okay, well, I'm gonna hijack for a minute because
go ahead.
Fits my need. I'm doing a series on cold cases, and I may call you guys into it as well because of legal aspects on what could be done by a defense or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my first one is Lauren DeMolo, who is a missing mother, disappeared June 18th last year out of Cape Coral, Florida. The news agency in the local news agency is Wink News. Your guest last night is Wink News.
He was once on. He left.
They interviewed the boyfriend and released a short clip of it. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can get to them to get the full interview to run by my statement analysis expert. To pitch what I'm doing, I literally am doing something kind of different, true crime. I'm taking real cases and putting my experts, the people I've had on different elements of them versus just covering it. So I've got a statement, the guy who brought statement analysis into America is Avi Noam Sapir. Have him looking at written statements, police reports, things like that to see if people are, shall we say, being potentially deceptive in their writings and language. Also victims, things like that. Have handwriting analysis who will look at it. If I had any kind of police questioning or visual footage, the behavior panel, get them to look at it for body language to read if they're being deceptive or what is going on. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this series.
Sounds pretty interesting.
I'd love to get with you to maybe get his information, because maybe I can get I'm hoping I'd like to get the interviews. I mean, it's like you can't just go to the boyfriend necessarily and say, hey, can I talk to you about the disappearance of your girlfriend when you never know who's looking at you or anything else?
2 things.
Sir.
1, we all had 2,200 subs at one point.
No, I don't.
Yes.
Wait, I'm not embarrassed at all. I'm very proud. I've only
No.
been doing this for like 6
No,
months.
but I'm
And I certainly don't begrudge you. I wish you had 20 million subs, and you deserve 20 million. I'm just playing around with you totally. So yeah, don't take anything. I know you don't take anything the wrong way, but no one should misinterpret what I'm saying as being
right. But I'm saying like that. That's why people will go on a show with 2,200 subs, is because when we had 2,200 subs, we all wanted, please get on my show. I want 3 more subscribers from your audience, please. But no, that's just how it goes. So that's why people had me on when I had I don't know if I ever had 2,200. No.
Briefly, very briefly. I understand that. It's like it ticked by, you didn't even see it. You didn't have to be like me and have but
that's because I cheated is the thing. I had I was very involved in a fan community that was pretty big on Facebook, and it was part of a large podcast community that existed even bigger than the Facebook group. And the Facebook group itself had, I think at the time before it got nuked by Zuckerberg, was over 4,000 members just in the Facebook group for this podcast. And so I was and then when that lawsuit hit, that was the first thing I covered. So I did rocket up past, up a couple thousand subs in my first couple videos. Like it was a very quick thing. But then it went flat for a long time, and then it ramped up again, and then it went flat, and that's how it went. So, but I did get a cheaty sort of express package to about 5,000 subs pretty quickly.
Then it went flat. Yeah, the flat though is so freaking hard. I mean, I don't know about. I mean, this spring I've been suffering that flatness, just like, what happened? And not just me. I mean, a lot of our peers have been kind of flatlined for a while, and I'm like,
I had flattened out from late 2019 through December of 2020.
And then you had me on your show, and you went up by 40%.
Skyrocketed.
And by the way, you might think I'm joking, but it's actually true. I went on a show on January 3rd, like a couple days before January 6th, and he literally and when he booked, it actually was when he booked me for the show, he was at 90,000. And by the time I actually made it onto his show, he was like at 140 or something. It was like,
well, he was trying to earn your presence. I mean, he had to get the numbers up, to warrant you being there.
Exactly. Exactly. The other thing I want to say though is, I am leery of chat groups, even for simple things such as coordination and organization, because I've seen it too many times. You have a group chat, and you may have a core group of people who are all good. And then you're like, oh, well, let's bring this person in because their thing's coming. And then somebody somewhere gets mad about something, and then they take, and I know lawyers would never be petty like this.
Never.
they take clips of that, and it's like an inside look. And the way chat groups go is you can always say, oh, this is just for scheduling stuff, but the banter will start and people will say things and they'll loosen up because they're in good company. And then someone comes in with some anger or jealousy or whatever it may be. They had a bad day, and then they start taking things out of context. I am in very few group chats for that reason, because I've seen them go south. So that's my personal hesitation with it. I'm not a huge fan of them.
That's legit. It's also hard to keep in mind that like every time I do a show, I got to get art done for the thumbnail. So some of it is like a matter of, okay, this person, okay, they're saying yes. And I'm definitely want to get the balance out. It's hard to know. Okay. Because I can get more than 4 people on the show that I like, but it doesn't run as well if it's too many people on at the same time.
No, it definitely doesn't.
It can get to be a little hectic.
Nick is right with respect to the dangers that if something that was written in there, which it all would be innocent joking around, no one's would mean anything harmful, I'm sure. But yeah, if someone gets wronged, some screenshots will come out just to paint someone in a bad light if someone gets angry at someone else, and that definitely is a downside, which would be a concern. So
you could have just stopped at Nick is right.
Yeah, but I understand. But it's so rare. It's so rare. I have to explain. I explain why this is one of those times. So
let's see. We all provide a unique take. For example, my wife might ask, "Are you watching Viva and Bars, or are you watching the drunk guy from Minnie?"
The screaming Jew.
Alex, by the way, I think Alex is the one who does all the awesome fan art of Viva and Barnes.
Oh, very cool.
I mean, like there was that one with them on the stage that had all this crazy detail, the tattoos and everything, and the drum, and that was really, really, really cool stuff. Let me see.
Pixlexia does most of my fan art. It's literally just nose pictures though, because she runs out of memory on her computer to draw anything else.
Who is it? Pixlexia?
Yeah, Pixlexia is great.
Cool. Okay. I have a guy in South Africa who does it.
Everyone's angry at Nick when he has 4 out of 10 hair. Yeah. his nose hair is better than my hair.
What was it? Somebody commented about the artwork putting you guys with Viva and saying, what is this, the noses?
Yeah.
I cannot believe you picked my merchant meme picture. Thank you.
Come on, that's an awesome thumbnail.
Oh, it's great, but it just, yeah, it's, well, that's my life now. So thank you.
Hey, your first one was your pugilistic.
Yeah, I like that one. That's an old picture. I think it's still my Facebook picture.
I don't know. I dug it out somewhere. You don't have a whole lot online.
No,
like screen grabs. You need to get some done.
Yeah, I shut down my Facebook page to everybody when I started doing this. But here's some Pixlexia art for you.
That is great.
I love it.
That is awesome.
That's my life now. Thank you.
I wish you can't get that into a thumbnail though.
But here's the thing: Nick has done such a great job of monetizing his nose. Nobody has made as much money off their nose since like.
Well, except for Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, basically.
Me and Babs hanging out in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I love how you monetize. Actually, you did a Trump on that. You're like, oh, they're going to call me a grifter anyway, so you're going to own the term.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep, I'm doing the grift. Yep, here, support the grift. And
grifting champion of 2020. I defeated Anita Sarkeesian in the grifting challenge of 2020. I mean, that's tough. That's
not possible.
That's put in work. It's official. The internet decided.
Well,
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Well done.
Well, you don't have a Gamergate app. Or wait,
look for
the Gamergate?
Yeah.
So
Gamergate.
So the next time I'm on here, Eric, you're just going to use Anton LaVey's picture for me. Is that how this is going to run? Or
take some time. Well, okay. You know what? Your little intro does not dissuade us from that.
What does that mean?
Well, okay, you're sitting there doing it with your grin going. You just have a cackling laugh and flames underneath. You're done, buddy. I mean, I never knew that you'd have a.
I never thought that was an evil look. I thought I was trying to convey. There we go. I never even heard of this guy an hour and a half ago.
Oh, never even heard of him. Yeah, sure.
Well, guess what? It's never going away. It's forever now.
I'm so much better looking than this dude. All right. Well.
You've aged gracefully, Anton.
That's pretty good stuff. That's pretty good.
It's gonna be like, his wife's gonna be like, okay, you're shaving now.
She's been waiting. Like, I'm gonna get him to shave that goatee. I just need something. I need something. And she's like, aha, this live stream, he's toast. It's over.
I get people wouldn't recognize me if I shaved the beard off. I don't think any of you would ever. I could literally mug you without a COVID mask, and you still would have no idea. You had no idea who I was. So,
well, you only have 2,000 users or 2,000 viewers, so no.
So that now's the time to change the devil's advocate, right?
Perfect time to rebrand. It's great.
It's so funny because all of you have names or pseudonyms almost. I mean, you've got Good Lawgic, Nate the Lawyer instead of Nate Brody or Body, and then you have Viva Fry. So I'm kind of like, you guys aren't bold like Emily D. Baker. Or on civil law. It's like everybody's got a name, and of course your favorite Legal Eagle.
Yeah,
Devin.
So you could have saved yourself some time last night, Nick, when you were watching My Cousin Vinny. That's pretty much one of his top 3 videos that he ever did was his breakdown on My Cousin Vinny. That actually was a good video from Legal Eagle, which is. I mean, I can't remember ever putting the word good and.
Well, wasn't it just pop culture? As long as it's not political. I mean, Snopes can be good too, if you're talking about like urban legends.
Right.
It's whenever you get political that they're just complete garbage. So he's the Snopes law.
The problem is he did it for so many shows and they're not good.
Right.
Like his one on how to get away with murder made me want to stab my eyes out.
I never
also
saw
that show makes me want to stab my eyes out too, but it's like it's such obviously bad like impressions of law school. But like he was really excited because I hope you guys understand that Legal Eagle is much more about law school than he is about law. Like his brand, the Legal Eagle brand, is a law school achievement course. That's what it is. That's where the channel started. It is a silent marketing campaign for this course. And I think I actually used to have a problem with it because it's like, wait a minute, you're an LLC actually sponsoring every show, and none of this is talked about as a paid sponsorship. But whatever that is. But so when he gets to a show about law school, you could just see him like, oh, I get to talk about how this isn't like law school. Oh God.
That's the origin of his whole. That's the origin of his whole. Like, it's time to think like a lawyer. That he's trying to teach like these law students how to be him one day.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah. And if I don't know if it's still around. I assume it is, but the Legal Eagle website, same branding and everything. So unless he stole it, which I don't think he did, that is what it's for. It's for law school achievement. And he sold courses on it, and that was probably very lucrative.
So does he teach in his course?
Yeah. Somebody pointed out that he maybe did teach you to get away with murder because you killed uncivil law.
Yep, uncivil is dead, and he has now been replaced by a complicated AI. I got enough footage of him on my channel that we were able to simulate his experience. And you know what? It's really nice. I like the passive income coming in from his channel. It's good.
I watched that, dude. I mean, I was genuinely, that could have been alcohol poisoning.
I was like, you need to slow down. I felt terrible, and I didn't even drink anywhere near as much. So it was.
I wasn't drinking while I watched it, and I felt terrible.
Yeah. Eric had a hangover when he woke up.
I did. I'm not kidding you. That was just, oh my God. I mean,
See, that's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's the thing. People challenge me to drinking contests. I'm happy to lose any drinking contest. I never in my life want to win a drinking contest. That sounds awful to me.
Well, you kind of do by default win, don't you? Because your little baby sips the whole time. So you just have more mechanical lifting of your arm. And then people are like going, throwing one back. And you're going, little, what is getting your beak wet? Like a little bird just barely touching it.
A nose joke. Oh, thank you. You et tu, Brute.
I didn't even think about that, but thank you. Good point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I was swigging from the bottle there at the end a little bit, but no, I did not have a great night that night either. But because I still ended up having like 9 or 10 drinks, which is
he drank enough for 4 people, and you drank enough for 1 heavy.
Yeah, and I don't like competing on liquor. I always feel terrible. So I'm happy to lose any drinking contest ever. I'll be the guy who's sober enough to fight off the large lady with a pizza.
Awesome. All right, well, folks, we're at the 90-minute point, and I want people to want to return and not make this painful for them to hang out. So anything else we want to close on?
I'm gonna send you a DM request to come on my live stream, Eric. I didn't know I was hurting you.
You better screenshot that because no picture didn't happen.
If I knew I was being so hurtful to you, I'm gonna apologize in front of your whole audience here and say I'm so deeply sorry, and I will rectify this soon. Don't worry.
Now watch this. I'm gonna piss him off because I'll be like, that's too late on that night.
I don't go on shows with less than 3,000.
Oh,
that'll be Eric.
You guys are great, really. Thank you so much, Eric. This was fun.
Hey, thank you guys. Until next time, and maybe we'll actually have a Viva Fry. We didn't talk about him enough.